So we're live on the web with audio.
It's 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, December 7th, 2021. Call this workshop of the Kingsland Independent School District to order. At this time, we'll have a roll call vote. Mr. Brian Kufal. Mr. Brian Kufal. Lieutenant Colonel Kreitz. Lieutenant Colonel Kreitz. Mr. David R. Garcia. Mr. David R. Garcia. Ms. Elizabeth Ramos. Here. Mr. James Lucy. Here. Ms. Delma Salinas. Here. Mr. Corey Garza is present. Let the record show there's a quorum of board members present and that this workshop has been posted in accordance with Government Code Chapter 551, State of Texas Open Meeting Act. This time, move on to item number 3, public participation of the policy BDD. This time, Ms. Pettis, do we have anybody who wants to address the board? Thank you, Ms. Pettis. This time we'll go ahead and go into our workshop. So I'll put item number 4. Kingsland Independent School District Board of Trustees will conduct a workshop on the following. A. Community Action Corporation of South Texas Head Start Facility Usage that will be under Dr. Pitts. B. RSSP Data Workshop with Dr. Farrah. And C. Special Ed Workshop by Dr. Bezenant. This time, Dr. Pitts, you have the floor.
Thank you, Board President Garza, Superintendent, that is members of the board. We currently have a partnership with Community Action Corporation of South Texas Head Start. They are using one of the smaller buildings at Claywood. They have 6 classrooms there, and they have our pre-K and younger kids there as well. And they are considering utilizing more of that space. They're considering using the big building next year. They would return the small building back to us. And I brought them here to talk a little bit about what they're planning to do with that facility. On the screen, you see the approximate costs right now to us per month, the monthly costs. The things that are not in there are custodial, because usually we don't pay out for custodial, it's in-house, but if they wanted us to do the custodial work, that'd probably be an extra $2,500 a month. Maintenance is also not in there as well, probably also be another $2,500 a month if they wanted to contract with us. Let me introduce Ann Awalt. She is the director, the regional director for KISD Pittsburgh.
My name is Ann Awalt. He's a little taller than I am. Actually, everybody's a little taller than I am. I'm not gonna talk. Thank you so much. So, I'm the executive director of the Community Action Corporation of South Texas. Our agency's been around since 1971, so we've provided services in South Texas for several decades now. Our service area actually goes from Lee County all the way to Brownsville and from Laredo to Nueces County. So we cover a fairly large chunk of South Texas. One of the programs that we have about 17 or 18 different programs. One of the programs that we have that we're most proud of is our Head Start program. And I'm not saying that just because I'm joined by our Head Start lead, Linda Esquivel here tonight. But it's a program I think we're very proud of. We've got about 1,300 children in Head Start. Kingsville is really a focus of what I consider a concentration of agency services. So we've got Head Start here, 3 to 5. We also have early Head Start here from birth to 3. We also have early childhood intervention. And that program serves children with developmental delays and disabilities that are from birth to the age of 3. So we've got speech therapists, occupational therapists, physical therapists. And we have folks that go into the home and work with the parents and the children. We also have a program in ECI that I'm extremely proud of, and it's folding over into Head Start soon. And that's a program where we work with children with autism. And we do it in a different way than traditionally it's been done. For those of you that are familiar with autism, you'll know 2 things. You'll know, first of all, it's on the increase, not only in our service area, but all over. But you'll also know that when it comes to autism, generally people use a traditionally accepted method to treat children that are older with autism. You're often talking about a mom taking their child to Bristol for 5 hours. And that's something that a lot of parents can't do, particularly working parents. So 7 years ago, we worked with a couple of doctors out of Dallas, and we piloted a program that Bristol will soon be adopted. And it's a program to work with young children that have autism or that are somewhere on the spectrum. So that's one reason why the staff that we have in Kingsville is not just located at the centers that Ms. Esquivel operates, but we have ancillary support staff that's located in another facility. And it's that facility where we have our ECI staff. We have the staff that works with children with autism. We have the LPCs. We also have a staff that does intake. So when a family comes in and they apply for Head Start, but we end up enrolling them in everything else that we need that they're eligible for. And that ranges from a veterans assistance program where we can provide mental assistance to veterans to other kinds of assistance and case management for families that are moving into self-sufficiency. So the whole idea behind our agency and the whole idea behind Head Start is to provide concentrated, holistic services to families to move into self-sufficiency. Now we appreciate the opportunity to address you tonight because we really would like the board to consider allowing us to lease the facility that we have here for Clayburgh Elementary. Let me say that we're leasing an elementary school from the Alice Independent School District now. And I think Ms. Esquivel has 12 classrooms in that facility. And that facility serves children from birth to the age of school attendance. Now, in addition to having a focal point in the community where these services can be easily accessed, I really think it does a couple of things for us and it does a couple of things for the district beyond money. Peter and I have had conversations about money. But beyond money, what I think it does is it takes families that traditionally may not have been successful in public school settings and it introduces them to a public school setting early in life. So they're able to experience and their parents are able to experience success and supports. So by the time they get ready to transition into the public school, they've got a foundation for them. So that's the concept behind this. Now, as far as money, and that's the part Dr. Fitz and I have been talking about. We realize that these are minimal costs. We realize that there are other costs involved, and so we'd like to have a full discussion with the board about the possibilities for the use of this facility, but also a partnership between the district in a way that nobody is disadvantaged. The district doesn't come out losing money, and our agency doesn't come out losing money. And in the end, the students and the families of the independent school districts are the one that benefits from this relationship. That was all. Are there any questions?
I've got a question. Right now, how many do we have right now in this building? Do you have housed at our facility, the facility that you're releasing right now?
Currently, we house 93 children, ages 0 to 4 years of age. I have a question. Are those 93 kids? How many of those children are on sources that? How much of our staff are utilizing to provide services such as speech, testing, behavior, and any kind of
I think I can address that if you don't mind, and when I mess it up, jump in. If it's a child that's 0 to 3, we provide those services through our ECI program. If it's a child 3 through 5, the Head Start program has a regulation that we must refer that child to the independent school district, to the LEA, and that the diagnosis has to go through the LEA.
And we're doing that as we speak.
Yes. And that's, I think the origin of that is the IDEA Act, is my understanding.
If we were to increase much, at least the larger building, what would our numbers go to?
Right now, the numbers would stay the same. We would be relocating. Right now, we have children in a facility behind Playburg Elementary. We would like to relocate those classrooms in Playburg Elementary. We would like to move the children out of the smaller building into the larger building. And we would like to take the support staff that we have on East 6th Street and locate that staff into this building.
So what's wrong with the building outside?
I would, in my preference would be to have everybody together under one roof. On 6th Street, we have staff. On 6th Street, we have LPCs, we've got intake workers, we've got case managers. We have, if someone needs to be enrolled in the community health center, we've got somebody that can enroll them in the community health center. So we have all these support services that can be going to these children, but they're not located in the same facility.
Our goal is to serve 180 children here. Currently, we're serving 9 3 to 4-year-olds in 2 of the facilities that we'd like to relocate there, and 3 infants and toddler classrooms. Of those, 1 is an infant classroom and 2 are toddlers, ages 18 months to 2 years of age. Correct. That's one of the facilities that we would like to relocate to the big building. No, at Kingsville CDC, the resource office, yes, primarily their offices. We don't provide services there for children. Somewhere between maybe 12 to 15.
Anybody else? What I can say, I'm a senior member, because my other two colleagues aren't here that have a little bit more seniority than I do, but KISD has had a great working relationship with Community Action of South Texas Head Start. And I will always firmly stand strong with the networking between KISD and you all. So I look forward to hopefully as we get closer to negotiations with the district and yourselves, that can come up with a solution to try to work something out, because I know you all are huge advocates of our district. And so I thank you for that. But again, moving forward, again, I really look forward, and this is me speaking on behalf of myself, to have a great working relationship with y'all. And we have one right now, but moving forward. So thank you.
Yes, I appreciate everything we all have been doing as well. I appreciate our partnership. When you say the goal to serve 880 students, we're talking about Kingsville students, right? Right?
That is correct. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I will again real quick, if some people could make it to the ribbon cutting after the LSG payment leaders. And myself, Ms. Thomas, this is I want to be sort of almost, and we've had some of our kids that are part of our CARES program, the Ms. Esquivel and her assistant were talking to, they had no idea of the some of the things that were being offered. And I know they networked together and they got some of those young boys and girls together to get some of those kids to come in and provide daycare that they had no idea of. So I come in and thank you all. It was again a great partnership. And again, our kids that had no idea of the great partnerships that KISD is not only with KCOS and several agencies throughout these coastal bend, but most importantly, Kingsville and Claiborne County.
With that said, we're always recruiting, so you know that.
Anybody else?
So this monthly cost, this would be what it costs the school.
This would be correct. This would be what we would lease it for, basically would equal what we are already paying for. These are our costs. The only other costs that are not in there would be custodial maintenance, which we need to be budgeted.
So the cost to us would be 50%. What do we look for that?
So currently, that's that. Can you bring it back up here? So currently, we're not paying the utilities on it. We're not paying the electricity because the building's vacant, or the water and natural gas. We are paying the flood insurance and building insurance. So far, it is incurring a cost to the district of $2,675 a month. Now, once they lease, if they are approved to lease that facility, they will take care of the building and flood insurance costs as well as all the other utilities. And then with the maintenance and custodial, our goal is to break even. So it would actually be a savings to the district of $2,675 a month.
If we move forward.
If we move forward, we'll be saving money. Yes, because
What's the condition? Because I know, that's one reason why we decided to close down.
well, there is a cost to upkeep, but again, we would build that into the cost of the lease. Obviously, it need to be cleaned and cleared out before we move forward, but the goal is to have it be no extra cost to the district.
Any other questions for KCOS and the district in regards to the presentation we just heard from you? I can say again, was this is that I think they probably need maybe the contract brought to the board maybe after the year, have our attorneys go with it, Dr. Pettis to go over with the funds goal and bring it to the board and move forward as soon as possible. Just like the international will have to do.
Appreciate the opportunity to speak to everyone tonight. If anybody has some questions, feel free to give me a call. Thank you very much.
Probably, I think always. All right. We'll move right along to item number 4B. That'll be RSSB data workshop, Dr. Fred. So before we start, Dr. Fred, I want you to tell me, because I don't know what RSSB.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So the RSSP stands for Resilient School Support Program. This is our second year working with TEA on this grant. And we were actually chosen to present to other schools in Texas, so very excited about that. And this is the presentation that we gave in the spotlight. Resilient Schools Support Program. Yes, of course. So the first thing we looked at was our demographic data. We pulled some of our 2019, 2020 data, as well as our new enrollment for 2021, 2022. We are working in collaboration with our instructional teacher coaches, as well as our principals. We are implementing this K through 8, but the grant specifically is focusing on data for 3rd and 6th grade reading. Our instructional teacher coaches have been amazing as they have supported the rollout of this program. Our other partner is our TNTP partner, and so we've been working with them. What we've done is established goals. So we have our year-end SMART goal. HQIM implementation is high quality instructional materials implementation. And we are implementing the Wanders curriculum for reading and the Study Sync for 6th through 8th grade reading. And we are looking, but by the end of the year, 85% of classrooms observed will implement the adopted curriculum with integrity. These are the individual measures we are looking at. Meeting the minimum number of instructional minutes for the product, following the scope and sequence and pacing guide, using curriculum embedded assessments as written and at the appropriate time in the sequence. By the end of the year, instruction in classrooms of 3rd and 6th grade RLA will be grade appropriate as measured by an average score of 3 on a scale score of 0 to 4 on the TNTP classroom observation tool. And our 3rd goal is the student achievement goal. By the end of the year, 75% of students in 3rd and 6th grade will perform at or above grade level on the Wonders and Study Sync curriculum assessment. And we are looking at the subgroup of our ELL students. Now, this was created, our goals were created in June and July as we've been working to roll out our systems. So some of our key actions for cycle 1 have been to norm on the RBIS for reading language arts. So a lot of initials. So the RBIS are research-based instructional strategies, and there are 4 of those. We have also had some turnkey trainings for our district leaders supporting with the RSSP priority implementation. So we've been meeting with our principals on training them on what the RBs are. We've developed and implemented a cadence for PLC meetings. We've conducted walkthroughs to measure the implementation, fidelity, and quality of implementation, and we've been able to collect and analyze assessment data. Some of our implementation tools are our Wonders unit internalization protocol, our Study Sync unit internalization protocol, instructional walkthroughs, and classroom observational tools. We've been developing strong exemplar student responses. We have looked at our KISD PLC protocol, and we are working on student work analysis protocol. So this slide, what it shows us is our lesson internalization for the curriculum. And I know it's small, but really focus in on that blue box. That's where we're setting up our goal. So what we did is we did a professional development with our instructional teacher coaches to train them on rolling this out of their campuses during PLC with their teachers. They went through the instructional materials, we looked at all of the pieces of the resources, and then we looked at what is our goal? What do we want our students to know by the end of the unit? And so that's how we were able to internalize what's happening in the lesson. We've looked at assessments, and then we've looked at the stories that the students are to be reading throughout the units. Yes, ma'am. Sure.
You're talking about these curriculums for third and sixth grade. You want the instructional teachers, third grade teachers and sixth grade teachers.
Not just third and sixth grade. We're doing this rollout with our with all of them from third through eighth grade actually.
So are these teachers from third grade to fifth grade? Are they going to stay third grade teachers? In the last couple of years, they've been moved around to fourth, back to second, and first.
Now, I know some of them is based on needs, but we're hoping that the principals, you know, they're going to have to look at the needs of their campus, but we're hoping that they do maintain that. But 3 through 5 is receiving similar instruction. So if they do move a student around, not a student, a teacher around, then hopefully it will be within that grade span. I can't answer that, but I'm hoping so. We're also working on
the staffing needs at the end of the year will depend on the numbers of classes that we need. The effectiveness of the teacher instruction as well. The reason we chose to go ahead and do third through eighth instead of just third and sixth is to build that capacity and be more consistent about our instructional delivery across the board. So if for some reason, if we don't need as many third grade teachers, we need more fourth grade because it's a bigger class or cohort, then if we have to move a third grade teacher to fourth grade, at least they're trained in these instructional. It would just depend on them.
Well, the good thing about our K-2 instruction, and it is not a part of this, but I do hear your concern, is that we are working at K-2 on phonics and phonemic awareness, which our third grade teachers do need. So if they do move up, it's a good thing. But for this, we are trying to provide consistency and talking the same language. So our K-2 teachers have been a part of the lesson internalization process. When we did our district-wide, we're asking them to use the Wonders curriculum with integrity as well. And ensuring that they're staying with the pacing of the resource, so to speak. So like for phonics, it's 5 minutes for phonemic awareness, it's 5 minutes for phonics pieces. And so as you look, there's a timing and a pacing, almost like a cadence of what they're supposed to be doing. And so we have been at the last training in November 29 training, we did work on that piece in depth with our K through 2. So they're getting it, it just looks a little different because instruction looks a little different in K through 2. But very good question, thank you. Okay, so this is our classroom walkthrough tool that our TNTP partner had created or has created for us. We've been utilizing this as we've been doing walkthroughs in the classrooms, looking for our research-based instructional strategies. This is not evaluative, but more to look at how can we improve instruction and how can we coach our coaches to improve that instruction in the classroom. Another step that we have done is we've strengthened our PLC structures by thinking through the frequency and the structure. So we did have to adjust our master schedules to ensure that we can meet with our 3rd through 5th grade teachers once a week during PLC and our K through 2 teachers once every other week to roll out the instructional strategies. At our middle school, they do have a 45-minute PLC daily so that they can, and I know Dr. Holt is really working with Mr. Segovia on the structures of that as well. So that's a part of this grant that we are trying to strengthen. So this is some of the PD that we've been working on. The book Focus has a study on key practices college students need to be ready One of them is engaging with complex text, which is part of our RBs, and the other is to back up responses with evidence. And so what we've been doing is working on a protocol, a structure, so to speak, an exemplar student responses called claim, evidence, and reasoning. And so these are just some of the pictures from when we rolled that out to our instructional coaches and again to our administrators. We did this during PLC time, and then the instructional coaches turned it around during their PLC times. Here's some examples, which I'm very excited about the work that we're doing. This was at one of our campuses. They provided us, this is the very beginning step, so they provided us some sample work, and I do have some other samples if y'all like to look at them later. But what we've done is during our PLCs, as we've been coaching teachers, we've been saying, okay, let's stop. What paragraph are you gonna ask the question at? And then what's the evidence you're expecting the students to state? And so they have a focused question, then they do the claim. These are the teachers preparing ahead of time. The teachers put the evidence where it was found, and then they put the reasoning behind it. And then as we've been rolling this out, we see the picture over there. Those were our third grade students, and they did the claim and evidence piece, but they drew a picture. And what we've done is we're scaffolding their learning so that we can do the reasoning whole group, and then small group, and then individually, so that eventually they're going to be writing basically 3 sentences of their claim, their evidence, and their reasoning or their justification behind that. So that's what we're headed towards.
So this is third grade.
Yes, ma'am.
That's my third grade.
Yes, ma'am. I know, it's great stuff. And it's, you know, this again, we're in the beginning phases. This is cycle 1, but it's exciting, the work that we're seeing. Okay, so this is just the tool that we were using for fidelity and quality to be able to get the data that you're about to see. Okay. So here is our data. There are 3 data points that we use that tool for: fidelity of implementation, level of internalization, and then the quality of questions. So the first graph that you see, that is the fidelity of implementation. We were at about a 92% rate of the use of the curriculum materials. Do you see that box? So that it's the top box. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so it's the top box. So they're at 92%. So that dark blue piece, that's the 92% of implementation. If you look at the next one, that's the level of implementation of materials. And so it's, you know, while the teachers are implementing the curriculum, the quality of the implementation varies from classroom to classroom, and that's part of the learning process. But there are bright spots that 31% of our teachers observed are customizing lessons to meet the needs of their students. So they're starting to differentiate without losing the rigor of the instruction. So we have almost all of our teachers implementing, and now we're working on, okay, the quality of the implementation. And so some of our next steps are going to be to adapt our PLC structure to include student work analysis and lesson rehearsal. We're going to increase our curriculum embedded development and coaching to build teacher capacity to customize lessons without lowering rigor. And this one is looking at the quality of questions. And again, it's at 92% because as we implement the instructional materials and utilize them, the quality, we're at 92%. And so they're asking quality questions just from following our instructional resource. Okay, so for this one, we're looking at the culture of learning, and we're looking at our students still engaged in the process. So some of our key observations are that students are generally compliant and on task, which is great. Teachers who had stronger preparation were the ones who scored mostly in yes, and teachers who scored somewhat had limited opportunities of student ownership. So what we are going to be doing is, again, we're looking at our PLC structures, and we're gonna start looking at, student work and practicing lessons. We're gonna increase our curriculum embedded coaching, and we're gonna build up our CFU strategies, our check for understanding strategies to increase student engagement. And our 3 check for understandings are gonna be our think, pair, share, our write, pair, share, and then in order to increase, student ownership, we're looking at randomization. So that way, no matter what, we're gonna call on you, whether it's picking sticks, spinning a wheel, things like that. Okay, this next one is looking at the high quality of questions and tasks. So teachers who had a deep internalization of the curriculum were able to engage students in high quality questions and tasks. 50% of the teachers used the curriculum but did not take advantage of the rigor from the curriculum due to limited internalization. So we're still working on that internalization process. How well have they read the story? How deeply have they read the stories? And then are they doing that? You saw where we put stop. Are they stopping and asking those types of questions? Lessons were predominantly teacher-led. Students did not engage in the rigor of the tasks. So we're going to hone in on those ESRs again during our PLCs to implement the claim evidence reasoning format so that the students can become more accountable for their learning. And then again, this is about students taking responsibility for their own thinking. Teachers engage in a lecture style. The teacher is doing most of the work and we're noticing them talking, and there is limited to no student talk. So one of our next steps is we're going to implement habits of discussion or accountable talk. And then we're going to make sure that we write in the CFU strategies for teachers, for teacher internalization. So we're going to stop here and we're going to have the students, we're going to ask this question and make sure they're able to talk, or we're going to do the turn and talk. So we're going to do a write and share at this point. So that's what we're working on. A think, pair, share is you ask a question, you give the students about a minute of think time, and then they turn to a partner and we turn to a partner and you talk about your answer. That way, if say I didn't know the answer, but Dr. Bezenais did, then she'd give me some ideas, and if I get called on, then I'm not going to be afraid to speak out in class.
Right.
Oh,
Pair.
pair share, because it's in twos. Yeah. And then a right pair share is the same, except for the question is asked and they're writing their answer.
I didn't know what the pair was.
Oh, no, it's a good question, that's fine. Okay, so this is our cycle 1, unit 1 baseline data. Okay, so this is for our 3rd grade students, and we're at about a 29% passing rate after unit 1. But remember, we have just been building processes and procedures. So what we've done is we've provided supports to our teachers on, like I was saying, some of our 3rd grade teachers have students that are non-readers yet. And so we started working with our teachers on phonics, how to tie that to spelling, how to tie that to a decodable to build confidence in students reading. So we did that professional development, and we've also done a professional development on how to create systems for small group instruction. So what will the other students be doing? What station work will they be doing? What processes and procedures will you have in place for them? So then you can pull a small group and give targeted instruction to those students who are in need. So those are some of the PDs that we've also been working on to ensure that our data increases. Here's our 6th grade data. They had a 61% overall at passing. But I want you to look at this chart. So if you look at this chart, this breaks it down by teacher. And so if you notice that top dot, that's the approaches level, and that for teacher A was at 49%. And then the meets, and then the masters. But if you look at that data compared to the other 2 teachers, One thing that I can say is teacher A has been implementing study sync with intentionality, with fidelity. At first, she's even told me, I didn't want to do it, but I did. And she said, I'm starting to see the results. The students are doing the talking and thinking. And her data is really indicating that. And then if you look at the middle school, altogether, you'll see the first three are grade 6, the next 3 columns are grade 7, and the last 3 columns are grade 8. So we're kind of in different levels. What this data tells us is that we're at different levels of implementation or internalization of the resource. And so it also tells us, okay, how can we target support for different teachers at different grade levels? And so some of the things that we've done is we went back to the middle school. We provided reading, professional development on the why. This is the why. Let's remember our RVs. Let's remember the lesson internalization pieces. We've also, like I said, Dr. Holt has put in place some PLCs daily. We're working on, again, coaching our ITCs. We will be looking and analyzing data more frequently. We're also looking at classroom management structures because those have to be in place for sure to make sure that the instruction is happening. And then we're going to be looking at small groups because we know we get the bigger bang for our buck when we're pulling our kids into small groups. We can be very direct and intentional with the instruction. And then we're going to look at how. We're going to continue to look at how are we implementing our resource and our instructional strategies.
So this is a pipeline, correct?
It's a 3-year grant. So we have 2 more years with this grant. We're at the very beginning stages of implementing and putting procedures in place in classrooms. So I don't know that I would say it's a pilot. It's more of a, we're starting here and we're hoping to get here and we're taking time to get there.
So to clarify, that our curriculum has always been and studies. And so what the work is looking to do is number one, identify that, identify quality. And number 2 is support to change
That 90% of them you guys,
well, that's where we have this conversation. That's where.
But that's the question of the board. We got to do why this, why that, because not calling anybody out. See the program, you know, I thank you for this because I think you're finally getting something in place. But, you know, I appreciate the honesty of the third grade, but before, we never always heard. So, I mean, I know it's we want to move the unit forward and move it, but you know, just sometimes I have a hard time with the eyes of the
That's where we're changing the climate of the conversations. And it is uncomfortable, you know, for people who have not been used to seeing real data. And we're not going to sugarcoat it. We're going to say this is where we're at. But looking at that data, you can see, okay, if these we can pick some of those teachers that are obviously using it with fidelity, and we want to use them as exemplars, as models, to show this is working, obviously. But also the common assessment data that's coming for the assessments that are going on this week. Like we've already scheduled PLCs with me, with the teachers for Gillette next week. So we can go over the common assessment data and let's see where they're at as well. And keep it moving that way and documentation. But if you can tell by what Dr. Farah is saying is the way these things are scripted, it's like if everything is like clear, they'll just follow it. It takes a lot of the burden off of the teachers if they follow along with this and do it consistently.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
2 things. It's funny to
I would like to see what is the percentage that doesn't go to. And I would like to use the same colors as you used in the previous one. So we can follow through with this. Honestly, I'm sitting here trying to add up what is the percentage. I find myself figuring out, trying to find out what's the percentage.
39% in sixth grade.
I can know that.
Oh, yes, sir. Okay.
Because, you know, we've got one teacher who's doing, you know, teacher A is doing very, very, very well, or getting better. What is she not? Who she not? And I think those are the things we have to go over, because we've got people that are mastering or beats. That's great. I'm really glad we have that mastering. I need to know who's attracting the most. It's probably. They might be meets and not masters. Ask them, how do you get in touch with somebody? 75% of the kids.
Conversations with the students, we can be talking about the students.
Yes, and you're saying you've got your.
Right, that would be the inverse, yeah.
So we didn't talk about it individually, we talked about it overall.
Right, we did talk about it as a grade level, but I understand. You want to see it now with the did not means that percentage per teacher. I can add that.
Yeah.
We're not really talking about it, we're not having this conversation. It's with both, kind of where they're at, and that's why I think this feels so important, because that's what we do talk about, these both things. Okay, we've got 10 in class, and 5 in this, 2 in this, and 1 in this, but these 2 and 1s are bubbles, so we gotta give them extra, that's why there's a special coaches coming. We're trying to get them up to par, and that's why this is happening more.
And to have those discussions, it's, the PLCs are being very deliberate, very intentional about what's happening in there, because that practice hadn't been there. So we are having those conversations, and there are some, you know, at first trying to roll out anything like this, there's some that's just like, there's no way our kids can do it. And then we found out, but some third graders are doing it. So yes, middle schoolers can do this.
With the claim evidence reason, that was one of the pieces that they're like, our kids can do that. We're like, why our third graders are? And then they're like, oh, well, we want to try.
Yeah, it's good, it's good.
Yes, yes. And as we look at it. Yes.
So like, for sixth grade, we got 30 kids on.
When we're rolling out the data in the PLCs, as we start analyzing the common assessments that we're doing now, exactly how we're going to be breaking them up.
As you know, when you say follow through, you're looking at follow through on both, not on both, because every student and student can follow through. So they'll follow through. That was my question. So you all know these kids are
And the PLCs is,
and teachers that for example, and so that is
And another piece we can look at our data folders. And so they're tracking. They're, okay, here's where I was, what's my goal? So every student has their
the kids are owning it too. It's not just the teacher keeping track, but the kids have to do it.
Even the color. So the fact that we're teaching in these schools, and we're teaching in these things, really, and I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate that. Not that we can send my students to them, it's spoken to class. Yeah, when it comes to class participation, motivation, that's good.
They want to track it. What is going on mission? So they have a goal there. So once they get
Progress. If they keep progressing, that's a win.
Yes.
obviously the concept of monitoring that place.
I think it's exciting because our next steps, we started looking at student work, we looked at high, medium, and low. So we have a protocol now that we rolled out to the ITCs, and then the ITCs are going to be taking that to the teachers so that we can be more intentional about our instruction. So there's a lot of things that our practices that we're putting in place that are very exciting, and I think the students are going to grow. It's a process. I feel like we're running a marathon, and but we're making progress, and it's exciting progress.
And I agree with you, isn't it? I think in the systems of space, and not even if they are,
It's gonna take everybody to learn.
Yes. Yes, they do.
But
the bunch of people out of that there.
yes, but ongoing though, even, I mean, they should be really, definitely, that should have been done, definitely, but we're hoping to continue and we, do need to. Our stuff doesn't.
Right thing about this practice is it's not ties in with adult instruction along with the identification of students and what the gaps are. So you have teachers that are reflecting not only on the curriculum, but what it is that let's say that they have a specific team. Possibly excel with the as a team to see where they can teach different. And then, so they can scaffold in kids back into the curriculum. But also, along that learn, and also have as a relevant kind of evidence, especially since COVID, and so different types and also with the need to school. So now we can do that, and that's what the parents see that. So we're talking about that. And so we have to have interventions. So all of that comes out of the instruction. Well, I'm not going to say that because teachers always reach out and not only coaches and leaders. So I would expect that teachers would, whatever the goals are of the students, stop and
We have our principals here, so they're gonna reinforce the need to reach out to parents.
my only thing
Well, teaching, like, it does reflect the tutor. There is a teacher in here with a kid that is going around, she does not just try to contact several times. Doing what they can in the classroom, but yet they can't. There's not really a lot of yes, this was our parent contact box, definitely. And we have CISM that liaison to do on visits as well. Parents that are not being reached.
Still some concrete. Right, we need everybody doing that. Everybody. It's a big shift. But we hope so. Yes. Right, principals.
And as we've always said, it's going to be approached. Any other questions for Dr. Phil? RSSD.
Let's fill it up.
I know.
We're gonna roll that in.
I know. Yes, I will. Thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on to item 6C, the special education workshop. Sorry, Dr. Besnice.
Good evening, Board President, Dr. Bettis, and board members. This evening, we are providing an overview of special education. You have a copy of the PowerPoint, and you also have a notebook at the end with just some additional pieces that I will be referring to in case you want to reference them. So we want to really begin this evening by being very transparent with our community and our board. We're going to begin with the TAPER report, the Texas Academic Performance Report, that was out in 2017, 2018. So we're going to go back a little bit historically just to remind everyone that on this particular year, we see the Kingsville Accountability Rating. But I want to focus on the special education side of the TAPER report. In that year, we were in need of substantial intervention. The following year, again, we see the special ed determination status is in need of substantial intervention. For the year 2019, 2020, we were in need assistance level from TDM. For 2021, we are now in need of substantial intervention again. So historically, we wanted just to go back to remind everyone of the current last 4 years of our rating regarding special education. Currently, this slide will show you the amount of students, the total number of students that we are serving. Currently, we have 419 students, and that number fluctuates daily. Students leave, students enroll. But you also see the trend for the last 4 years of the number of students, who we have served in Kingsville as regarding special education. And now this slide from the lens of a child. When I came into the district, this was my goal, and this is the goal that we use regarding our team, that everything that we do in special education, we also must focus on looking through the lens of our children. What are their needs? What are we doing? And how can we improve the quality of work? At this time, on June the 1st, was the first day of my contractual agreement with Kingsville. At that time, we also added a behavioral coordinator, and you've not met her. This is Ms. Laura Zimmerman, and she is our fabulous coordinator for Kingsville. We also, with the support of this board, hired 2 behavior specialists, and we have Claudia Claudia De La Rosa, and Marina De La Rosa here with us. She is the lead for our team. And to tell you that they have been extremely busy from day one is an understatement. We're going to go over some of the transformational things that they're done for Kingsville. So then we're going to start with coffee and conversation. So early in June, Dr. Bess and I came on board, and the first thing my team said is, Dr. B, we have 3 new classrooms that are going to be starting in August, and we need to get prepared. So immediately I reached out to experts in Region 2 to come over and share with our team some collaborative work on how we were doing work and how other districts. This is Cal Allen, ISD, and their dyslexic team traveled here for a day. They met with our dyslexic teachers at that time. We were transitioning from the testing being held now in special education and just supporting our dyslexic teachers on that day to share what best practices Cal Allen had compared to what we were doing, and then how we could improve some of the services for our students. Immediately after, on June 22nd, we greeted Barbara Gresses, a consultant also in Region 2, who came in to really discuss our ECSE, which is our Early Childhood Special Education new unit in Kingsville. She went over the training of the program and discussed what type of students do we serve in this program. We did a campus visit and also a classroom visit. This is at Pettis Elementary, and I do want to explain to you that in June, we did not have a teacher hired for this new unit. But the team here in Kingsville, the assessment team, along with our behavior specialists, went in the summer and completely set up the classroom for the teacher before the teacher was even hired. Our goal was to be prepared on day one for all 3 new programs coming to Kingsville to be ready for our students at the door. The next one happened in June 24th, and this is Dr. Deborah Stanley, and she oversees the large 18 plus program. But the 18 plus program was a new program for Kingsville. And again, you see a picture of our staff here, and they were like, Dr. B, how are we going to put all this together so soon? And my assurance to them is we're not going to fret. We're going to bring someone who knows the program, who's going to help us build it, develop it, and we'll be ready. And that's exactly what happened on June 24th. You can see even during the summer, our teachers and our staff took time from their summer to be a part of this transformational things that were happening here in Kingston. Then started our work in August and September. This depicts pictures of our file room. And our file room, to say the least, needed massive organization and an overhaul of what we saw. I want to share with you on one particular day, I had a parent call my office and he wanted a copy of his child's art paperwork, and the student had already graduated 2 years prior. My secretary was out that day, and the gentleman said, Dr. Besson, we've already called your office twice, and we yet not received the paperwork. So I said, I am the new director, and I will give you an hour, I'm gonna run in, get a copy for you, I will have it in the front, we'll email it to you, whatever you need, once we have consent. I walked into the file room and could not find fine. So we use Success Ed in Kingsville, went into our system, could not find any historical pieces on Success Ed. So I come to my colleague and said, come in here and help me. We went in there and we could not finally found the file, and it was in this tall cabinet towards the back in that record. The second incident that happened that week was a school district that called in a student that had transferred to their district and they needed records. Typically, most districts send records electronically through T-Rex. However, the records must be all complete in our system. And on that particular day, Ms. Zimmerman took the call, was frantically looked for the paperwork, sent it to the district. Then we get a call from their director. They had gone through the file and had some very important questions to ask. And Ms. Zimmerman said, let's let me get you what you need. And we went looking for this information and we could not locate it anywhere in the student records or in our records. So we had to be very transparent with that district to say, we are apologize, these are the next steps you would take as a director, and just reassure them
that we're gonna definitely continue to begin our work and be very strategic. On the very next page, the next PowerPoint, you see now the transformation of our file room. So we have gone through every folder in our file room. We have everything organized by graduation years. The students who did not qualify or graduated prior to 3 years are in this building down the hall, organized all in books. I'm sorry, in boxes, as you can see on here. And we've also completely reorganized our folder system. So I'm going to get Ms. Zimmerman just to show you a sample. So every one of our folders, all 450 that we have, we're going through each one and putting them in a very organizational system so that ourselves can at any point pull a folder and be able to find all the information that is needed. So we're still in the middle of this piece, but the file room is now completely all organized. So next comes the audit. On August the 11th and 12th, we conducted a 2-day audit by Region 2 Service Center. We had 2 experts in the district, the entire assessment team, the speech pathologists, our diagnosticians all gathered with the team. And their original plan was to review as many records as they could over the course of 2 days. So you may be wondering, what are they looking through for in our folder? So I gave you a sample of the actual evaluation package that they followed, and it's a desk review checklist. So this is what the service center came in to look through our records. In the course of 2 days, they were only able to go through 7 files. We've only brought 3 to this evening, and they're sitting on that table in front, in the middle of our workshop. All of the stickies that you see in each folder are all the corrections that the service center team found in the 7 folders that we have. So after 2 days, and our team participated, our team, again, meaning our assessment team, did participate in this. At the end of 2nd day, we had to pause, and that was as far as we could go. So along with the direction of the service center, I contracted 2 diagnosticians that are retired and highly trained. The service center created a form for us to continue doing our own self-audits so that we could in turn begin to have ARDs and make corrections. So anytime there are errors, we can't go back and change them. We can only change them when we have a new ARD. So our team pulled all of the ARDs for the fall and reviewed all of the work that needed to be gleaned over. For example, and this was one of the service center recommendations, we see pin marks on some of this official paperwork. Pin marks, that cannot continue to happen. Yes, we understand that. So we went through this and went through all of our fall audits. So today we were prepared then to turn over this information to our team so that would help them make all the corrections. So what is the conclusion to the 2 audits? There was a critical need to restructure our team and their roles and responsibilities. Our SPED teachers could no longer complete the paperwork and facilitate ARDs. Why? Because they are not highly trained in that area. We also identified that there was a disconnection of the multidisciplinary team at each campus. So Dr. Bess and I, along with our assessment team, and they agreed, this is not us. This can no longer be the level of work that we do here in Kingston. So this next slide actually depicts, we could have done a real pretty a real pretty picture, but this was actually a copy of our work. So we listened to our team. I listened to their needs and concerns regarding the changing of guard of how we conduct business in Kingsville. And from this, we moved to focusing on the needs of our students. So we listed all of our schools along with all of their caseloads. We have taken out the names of our team, but I am a collaborative leader. So I do expect our team to meet with us and to determine what do you believe, what are your strengths? Where do you feel you could best serve Kingsville based on the information that you've had in the training that you've done? One of the concerns that was brought up immediately from my team was we're overloaded. We have a lot of work, Dr. Messinite. I understand. So I shared with them this information from the surrounding school district. And this information came from special ed directors. Then you see here that we have Sinton reported. This was probably around late August, early October. No, sorry, September. These are the numbers that they reported. They had 222 dyads, and that was their caseloads. You have Alice, Gregory Portland, Hal Allen, and Flora Love. And this was the information we did share with the team. So you look at Kingsville, and at that time, we had 341 students. Students. We had just hired the 4th diagnostician, so we have 4. So that each one of our diagnosticians had approximately 73 in their caseloads. So I wanted the team to glean how their colleagues in Region 2 were regarding caseloads. So at this point, then our caseloads were now divided, and the diagnosticians agreed to the teams or the campuses they were going to begin serving. The next few slides just has the actual assignments by campus. You will see the name of the diagnostician and also the speech pathologist and the speech assistants for Harvey Harold Pettis. And then on the next slide, you'll have Gillette, H.M. King, and also the 4 Head Start campuses. So now the assessment team, our speech pathologists, and all of our diagnosticians are assigned to their respective campuses. The alignment of the special education team continues with this data to share with you who our contracted services are. So we have occupational therapy, Denise Farr. She services most of all of Region 2. We have Chad, and he also does all the PT for all the small districts. Counseling, Osteen Watts is new to the district, and right now she's currently only serving 2 students. She is an LSSP. But more importantly, we have Daniel Terraza. And Mr. Terraza, the board had requested prior how much money we were spending for this contractual service, and that information is here for you by here. So I do want you to look at, for example, year 2021 and the large amount of money that was paid to the Terraza team, and that was due to the year before we ceased in school and closing school. So the following year we were catching up with all of our evaluations. Okay, so in retrospect, and I shared this with Dr. Bettis, what we would ultimately love to have one day is our own LSSP in the district. Not only to do our evaluations, but also to provide counseling to our most needed students. On the next slide, we also updated all of our operational guidelines. But one of the things we're so excited about, and we definitely want to give a shout out to Dr. Vasquez Cruz, is our district website. When you do have a chance to go to our district website, we have a button now that says special education. And you'll be able to see all of the assessment team, They're listed by campuses with emails, along with direct access to our operational guidelines. So we definitely wanted to have our parents and our community know what we were doing regarding special ed here in Kingston. On the next slide, this began our training information. So we've done a copious work of just keeping track of all the training that we've been providing. So currently we have our teams attend the NEED meetings at the service center. I, as a director with Ms. Zimmerman, or one of us always now attends the director's meeting at the service center. We have monthly team meetings as an entire group. And then we also have a small group meeting where we focus on the diagnostician's needs, the behavioral specialist needs, or the speech pathologist's needs. Next, you'll see the listing from August of the trainings, a running record of the trainings that we've had at Kingsville. From training our teachers to our bus drivers. We've had discipline strategies for principals. Yes, sir.
Is this training for just part of the staff, or is this?
It's for students, it's for campuses. Then we did reads, and that's for our assessment team. So beside each one, we tried to provide you information about who did the training. And that was the focus of what we did for, for August. On the next slide, you'll see October. We did the PLAC training for all of the SPED teachers and the assessment team. We did the CPI refresher across the district. We did a webinar for the team on all the dyslexia handbook changes. We talked about the funding under special education, all the way to the lead meeting regarding the grant monies that was available to our SPED students and how that information was disseminated to parents. In November, again, we continued with the accommodation and modification training. We see a tremendous need to continue to provide the training and to continue to support our administrators, our teachers with the understanding of accommodations and modifications in Kingsville. We did training on November the 9th on PEAMS and coding. That was extremely important for Kingsville. Recently, November the 29th, we did IEP goal development training for all of our teachers as well. If you look on November the 29th, we did special ed law, referral laws, classroom guidance for the district counselors, because I do oversee the district counselors for Kingsville. So bringing them in as well to have a clear understanding of what they do. We discussed the Waterford informational training as an additional resource. And in December to date, you will see now that we have the new district initial referral packet. I've provided the training to the principals and to our staff and district counselors. And you do have a copy of that front page in your packet. The referral packet is now something that is required when a campus is going to refer a student that will also include, and it's in your packet, signatures from the counselor and the campus principal. And those packets are then delivered to our office, in which the team reviews them for accuracy and determine if we move forward with an evaluation. On December the 1st, we went to SPP 11 training. We're going to discuss that in a few minutes a little bit deeper. And then we also talked about doing the compensatory services for that non-compliance piece. Continuing for December is a CPI training that's going to be held this Saturday. So for teachers, we're doing Saturday trainings quite a bit. And then also we will have a service center back here on the 14th to review our soft audit, to glean over what we've done to improve what we were doing. If you look at this next slide, this happened on Saturday, October the 23rd. And this is when we brought Zanette Hernandez in to the district. And she was here to discuss how our need to restructure our district behavioral units. I do, all of our teachers and, one of our board members also participated in the training to train us on improving what we were currently doing. I didn't bring a copy, but I will tell you that in my office, I have a program overview of the district's behavioral program from 2010 and 2017, and the only thing that has been changed is the date. So this is an example of how we began to transform some of the pieces at Gillette. And we do have a behavior specialist to bring over if you have any questions on this one. But she came in with the team and they went to Gillette to assist the teacher and the parents to really begin transforming the work. This is probably one of my favorite slides right here, which is the team. We learned that we could put something up for our Gillette students to say, all your cell phones go in the little pockets before you come into the classroom. We originally assumed we were going to get a big revolt, but that really didn't happen. We had a few non-resistors, but when the team emphasized this is the structure of this classroom, this is what we're learning, along with the second sample, which is the programs. Which is the daily schedule. When you walk in at 8 o'clock, this is when your lunch, this is when your break. So it's a very structured schedule that currently is being conducted at Gillette in our behavioral unit. Our plan is then to go up to the high school to implement the same program and then also assist our elementary behavioral program. All three of them will be aligned. All three of them will be, the oversight will be on our behavior specialists to glean over the data of students that are entering here to learn appropriate behavior, because our goal is for all of them to be where? In the regular classroom learning. Yeah.
You mentioned, roll up to the high school, and you're looking at that for the semester.
Yes. We're looking at relocating the classroom and then also be able to come in and support Ms. Williams and her team there.
So it has to go down.
And if I may interject, all the team, the staff from Gillette, was at the training. What the team is doing is modeling for them exactly how to react when the students maybe is non-combative and how to de-escalate those behaviors. So it's a continual work, but we definitely have seen improvements. I know I hear less and less from Mr. Segovia regarding those students because they're being served in that campus. Would you agree, Mr. Segovia? And the next one is the implementation of the program for Brahma Academy. And so you may be wondering, what is Brahma Practice Academy? Early in the school year, we did get an influx of new students, and most of them, all of them, were identified as autistic children. And so we really began to glean over their inability to be successful in the regular classroom. However, they were not to the severity of being emotionally disturbed to be in that type of a unit. So we did implement the Brahma Practice Academy currently in Bettis, and I know the principal is here from Bettis. Is there anything that you'd like to add, Ms. Flores? Briefly?
So grateful.
And you would ask me, Dr. Beans, what were we doing with these students before? What would our answer be? Or we were sending them home because we could not educate them, and so many of them were being sent home. We received a few calls in the beginning of the year, and then it said, oh, no, we cannot. So we immediately determined that there was a need. And this classroom, again, you see the setup, and the behavioral specialist came up on a Sunday and transformed the entire classroom to be ready when the students began their placement, and it is being very successful. Yes, ma'am. Right now, it's just special ed students. Yes. Okay, so on this slide, we decided to just give you at a glance all the different units that we do have currently in special education. We have the early childhood special ed unit, and that is new to Kingsville. And we've also listed for you that we serve 3, 4, and 5-year-old students with autism, intellectual disability, or other health impairments who require a modified curriculum. Our pre-K program
Well, I
is,
think it's important that we really stress it. It was a new program. There's nothing like that was here in Kingsville and the state. So these children are getting some services that have not been previously done. Yeah. You already get credit for that. Because I know how much.
and so we're serving 3, 4, and 5, and then their schedules are listed. Some of our students do stay all day if they qualify for pre-kinder. We also have our adaptive education classes, and we serve 3 to 18-year-old students from our elementaries all the way through our high school, and they also require a modified curriculum. We're going to discuss that a little bit later on some things. We also have now our behavioral programs, and we serve 5 to 18-year-olds. We have the Brain Up Academy, and that's only for our elementary for 5-year-olds and 11s. And then we have our 18+ program. That's also a new program. That's at our high school. And they serve 18 to 22-year-olds. And their focus is more on instruction on daily living and beyond high school. And then, of course, we have our inclusion, our students that we serve in the regular classroom. So of the district programs, 3 are new to Kingsville. The early childhood, the Brain Up Academy, and then the 18+ program. We currently have 3. We, on this summer, we're trying to recruit more. But one of the things that the coordinator that came to visit us and assist us with that program said, you're going to have difficulty bringing them back because they've been home a year and a half. So some of them tried to return, and there was a lot of resistance. Some of the parents said, no, we're just going to keep them at home. But our goal is to continue to grow that program. I know the principals here, the team, the teacher, and the parents do a phenomenal job to help those students.
We have a place for them to continue now.
Yes.
Play as well. Right.
There's a very good number out there. I think this program,
Alrighty, the next is, of course, now the results-driven accountability. This report came out for Kingsville in October. It was released. And I want you to pay close attention to the first data set. which is number 1, and that is how our special ed students in grades 3 through 8 perform the performance rate. You see science highlighted for you. On the far right, you see performance levels of 3 and 4. The best grade we could get on a performance level is a 0. So the scores run 0 to 4. So there you can see where we are. On the second data set, you see our passing rate for our EOC at the high school. And again, there we highlighted biology because we have a 4 in biology and we also had a 4 in science. So that was gleaning data for Kingsville to help us coordinate the fact that we needed to come up with a goal and visit and work collaboratively with our CNI team. I want to call your attention to the district determination level. We are a level 4. We are the only district in Region 2 with a level 4. There's approximately 43 districts in Region 2, and we have work to do. On the next slide, you see the annual dropout rate. And here you also glean that we have a 3 in the dropout rate for students in grades 7 through 12. Next slide, I do want to highlight that we've had some progress noted from the year before. Last year, if you recall, toward the end, we had a 3 under the discipline total renewals, and we improved the number to a 2. So that means that we're being very much more conscientious about removing students, special ed students from our campuses.
Is there any way that we can be provided disciplinary choice for the last couple of years? I'm just wondering, instead of removing them, does this kind of size us know if that's removal?
Yes,
just do a different
yes. TDA, this information is derived from the work information the district submits. So I can also even provide you how they came up with this calculation because it is in their RDA manual, exactly all the data that was used to come up with that. So what we saw, to be honest with you, and I looked at it, was a slight improvement, which pushed us to the number 2.
And that's just for this
Yes, ma'am.
up until the end of 2021.
Correct.
Is there any way they can get the full information? This is only.
Yes, ma'am. I only get
We're not gonna talk about
This is also-
Yeah, this is that. This is not, this is not something that last 3 years of disciplinary result. That's what we get before that. I don't know if anybody will read those things, but I'm sorry. You talking about the removal, I'm talking about, suspension. So if there's, social, practice, but I know that this is given like a tenth of what's in the. This one is, yeah, this is just doing the special ed. The other, yeah, we can do the rest. That was gonna be with the, when we talked about BOI and OI and the assessment of the regular, everybody else, that's gonna be January. We're trying to get right time.
And then and the special ed section that I did not provide was not graded. I only provided the graded parts of the RDA presentation. But we can provide you the entire document.
I know that I do recall that the writing, the English portion, actually were different.
And then also even in the previous, I'm sorry, we just went to the biology, but here also you'll see the reading, the math scores, and writing for the lower grades. And then how, it also tells you exactly how many students tested and how many actually passed. So the information for the other disciplines are also on that slide. But we can more than happy to slide we provide to you. So results-driven accountability, these are the goals that the district submitted as to TEA regarding our focus and what we were going to begin doing to look at our science and biology to increase the performance by 5% currently of the scores that we have. We also put listed reading as a goal to also increase for our SPED students their percentage passing. And then, of course, we're looking very closely at our dropout. And our dropout information, we did pull all of our students that dropped out last year, and we're working on the previous year to glean over the fact that some of our students are dropping out from our middle school, from our junior high. They don't return, so they're considered a dropout if they want to register somewhere else. So we're doing much focused work. Also, you see the STAR and STAR Alt. Here, we are looking closely a need to analyze our testing settings assigned to or that we're following the TA compliance, while most importantly, meeting the needs of our students. So it's training and cross-training of our team to be able to determine the appropriate test for them.
Yeah, when, and I know some districts got caught with that a few years ago where, they were afraid to go over like a cap of 1% or whatever the percent was. And they were automatically putting people to test in this setting, but not looking at the individual student. What setting should they be in? What kind of instruction are they receiving? So we've got to, that's part of our protocols, to do a better job of looking at where should the children be placed. The arts need to be very, very knowledgeable. It has to be a knowledgeable process about what's happening with the student and not just say, don't go over this, this is not people, or don't go over this, not kids. We have to get to the root of what is the child. So looking at right. Yeah, when the state put that out there,
Yes.
the districts who were paying attention to the students did better than those that were afraid of the number. So we got to get into that kind of, well, this is good for the kids. What are we doing for them? Yeah.
Dr. Pettis, if I might also just add two very important pieces that came to mind when you were talking. Number one, you see the rich training we're doing for our team. And that's paramount right now because many of them are phenomenal educators and people, but they have not had current training in a few years. So they were still practicing some old methodologies. For example, the student has to have an IQ of 55 for a particular reason. And okay, where did we get that information? That's what we were told like years ago. So one of the things the service center did, because I did investigate our team and training, can you show me and provide me evidence of how many of our staff have gone to regular updated training? Some have and some have not. And if you look closely at the training, our team said, we'd rather they come here. We want to be here with them so that we can ask, be very vulnerable and ask the questions we have to ask. So every one of our big trainings, the service center has traveled to this room and we sit in here together. And I think that has been probably the best of seeing now the whole teachers along with our team coming together as a powerful team to begin to have a better understanding and environment. And then you may ask the why behind it, and I say this in our training, now that you've had reads, how to write reads, how to write plaques, and how to better write IEPs, the next art comes through our eyes. Because I want to see the written plaque, the better written IEP, and the better written read. So just like the teachers, we have to go back and check the quality of our work. That's what we're doing.
And after so many years, I mean, if you saw the paper reports, and we just went back that many years, and we continue on that. Special ed has been highlighted on each year.
So we're gonna check.
I have them all say.
Well, I've been told that we're gonna get this conversation a long time ago from someone else, so
Did that person leave you with any information to go off on?
They're actually on the TA website.
No, I mean, no.
Well, let me get to that. Because one of the things that we're doing for RDA, thank you for asking that. One of the things we're doing for RDA is in an effort to improve student achievement, we must cross-train also our SPED teachers in regular curriculum. So when I said to you, this is a partnership for improvement, because a SPED teacher is not going to improve the SPED students' improvement academically because they're in the regular classroom. So one of the things that I'm so proud of is that academics along with their CNI team are joining with us to say, what if our SPED teachers training that they have in regular curriculum? For example, Ms. Juanita said in high school now, we were in STEM scopes. So I visited with our SPED teachers in the high school, they're like, Dr. B, we are training on STEM scopes. We now understand STEM scopes so that I can help my SPED students when they need help with those assignments. That's number one. Right now, our achievement is not where it needs to be. The TAME report just came out. And you're not going to see that data in this report. It just came out last week. But we do expect with all of the strategies that we're putting into place to see that improve.
Okay, they're doing the common assessments this week? No, they have the first, okay, so the second common assessment's being done this week. So then in January, on the schedule that I've given you all, we're gonna bring that and you'll be able to see my special ed group, my ELL group, my general ed group, how they're progressing. The teachers and staff in special ed have not been trained in years. And it's to make up for all of that training for fidelity. We have to teach the teachers first before they can teach the kids. And otherwise, we can't hold them accountable until that time. They don't know what they don't know. So we've been very deliberate to get training over here, like Dr. Bessanice had said. We have several new SPED teachers. So there is a variety of levels of teachers that will be trained and have not been trained. Some of them have been here longer than others. But we have to get everybody kind of together, kind of at a baseline of what does everybody know and what is it that we can expect from you fairly. We're not going to expect them to do something that they have not been trained on. So we've got to make sure that we are providing those supports and those resources before we start kind of hammering on, okay, how come the kids aren't doing wrong?
Yeah, so thank you, Dr. Pettis, for saying that, because one of the comments I do want to make, and that was also very important for our team to hear, is that special ed children are regular ed first. They're regular ed, and what we provide is a service. So just like Dr. Pettis just mentioned, the team and the teachers are all analyzing all the data of the students that are currently doing the common assessments. So they're regular ed students first, and our job is to provide a service. We will continue to look closely, and we will actually, this next piece will tell you exactly how. So the impacts on the district now that we have, the results-driven accountability with the determination of a level 4, we now have a direct partnership with ESC2. They will be here for our monitoring twice a month. We now have a direct relationship with TEA. Originally, TEA said, Dr. B, we'll see you in 3 years to come and monitor your behaviors. Now, TEA said, we'll see you in the spring. So they're done. Okay. Our non-compliance piece is also the SPP 11. And SPP 11 measures the percent of children who are evaluated within 45 days. We were also non-compliant for that piece. So we now have provided compensatory services to those parents. We're conducting ARDS by the 14th. The service center will be here to review every single art. And then we will be implementing the new referral process. So I only expect for our students to begin performing better in all of their evaluation pieces. But to be quite frank, this work needed to get done first. The evaluation, everything starts with the evaluation piece. And the evaluations drive the arts and help us develop the IEP for our students. So what can we expect for spring 22 and beyond? We're going to continue restructuring our units. We're going to continue the new referral process. We're considering adding a new classroom because we're already in capacity and expect 5 more. We're restructuring our AE unit and provide supplementary curriculum for those students that have to also test. We're going to provide inclusion support training and implementation. And that is where we'll see the increase of our SPED students' performance when we have a true inclusion model and implementation of that model. We're going to be cross-training in general ed classrooms. The service center will be here to provide training for us and support. And then we're going to do an increased data collection of our benchmarks, of our behavior, and every aspect of special education.
Now, all of our students in inclusion are also tracking their data, they're doing their data practice, they're data holders. So they're not excluded from that.
So this concludes my presentation. I'll open it to any questions. I will tell you that this is our model right now with our team. The strength of the team is each individual member, and the strength of each member is our team. Together, our focus are the students of KISD. Thank you.
What is the number of SPED students?
420, 419.
What percentage?
It's on our page. Oh, 400, there was 411, and we have 28, 10.
It's in our taper report, and I get a response to the survey.
2,000 students.
So what I'm asking is, what my final answer is, I'm trying to get, what is the percentage of SPED students? What is the state average of SPED students?
Should have brought a copy of that because it's in the taper report. I know that we are over the state number slightly. I think our percentage here was 11.9. It was 11.8 or 11.9. So we, the state average is 9%, so we're up by 2.
And that's
Yes.
well,
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons that we're in this situation is because the school districts and the school districts aren't saying that's district up to the average. School districts percentage less than average because we're cautious.
You're talking about surrounding districts like the one, like really Lucas was?
I'm wondering if they're typical students that are SPED students and fitting their students that are SPED students.
I bet yes.
I would bet on it, but I want to see documentation that shows you guys the facts because
When, back in 2017-18, when Kingsville received an F, that opened the doors equally. Okay? Now for us, we're a public school, so we have to welcome anybody who is in our zone. Okay? But others don't have to accept them. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They signed it. They signed contract. I can.
That's what I'm trying to say is overall, we do.
Because we've lost, yeah, the denominator, right, the denominator, we've lost a lot of those that are not special ed and stayed with the one special ed. Yes.
Right, and so we need to pay attention to special programs. For that reason, we need to be more.
Absolutely.
And that put a fear into a lot of districts, so I can understand that that was happening here, that it was a fear for what it is.
So if I may finish just as I close, the one most significant important piece that probably happened like maybe 3 years ago is removing the work of the diagnosticians and giving it to the special ed teachers. And I believe that happened because there was an abundance of teachers and shortage of diacs, and so they just switched it. So as we transition back, the diacs are back on the saddle, and our teachers are now directed to just focus on teaching data and helping the students with real academic.
Are the aides and the teachers doing children observations instead of the SPED inclusion teacher because they're too busy?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Are aides and teachers doing observations that a SPED inclusion teacher should be doing for an IEP? Does that qualify as a legal observation for information for an IEP?
Is that for grading of the actual IEP?
Just observing a student in a classroom and then reporting it into progress report on the IEP.
The teacher should be doing it. Thank you for bringing that up. We do have a list of all the students that we're submitting records, weekly records and monthly records for. So it's just part of us uncovering all the internal practices that have been happening. And I will say this, that I've told my team that had 4 directors in 4 years. And so they look at me like, and I'm telling them, we're here to support you. We're going to be right alongside you, teaching, guiding, and supporting you. You are not alone. So what's happened in the past is gone. That's in the rear mirror. We don't even talk about it anymore. We can only move forward. And with the support of that, that is the team and the board, we're seeing already some significant steps in that direction. And so, and we're at the beginning.
Question on our district accountability grade. Does the average number of SPED students per population that grade, and also does the amount of ISS or was it expulsions affect that grade as well? It doesn't affect the state accountability, the ISS and expulsions. That doesn't. But the RDA, that's what it is, especially special ed. Yeah.
It is a big number, but I will also share with you that the high school counselors send us all transcripts. We're in the middle of a review to see how close they were to finish it. Did it happen for various reasons? Are some of the students coming back to try to get into their program? And really looking at the why that huge number. And we have a
The cohorts should be, you're
Yes.
looking at the cohort from the year before.
Yes. Yes, but some of these dropouts happened at Gillette.
Yeah.
So they're 7 to 12 grade.
Well, what I can say first and foremost is I appreciate the transparency of what has happened prior to getting. You're right, Dr. President, has it's in the room there. It is no secret that this district has struggled. The last not just 4 years, but prior, but again, to back to work in progress. And I'm glad to say that we're trying, or you all and your staff are board and trying because you're right, you did say something important. It's about the kids in the environment. Somebody said a while ago, it's about servicing them. And there is no doubt in my mind that you all will continue. This is a closes, so we're opening it up. So again, hats off for first of all, most importantly, being transparent with the board, and most importantly with the public, because again, that just shows that again, this district, along with the administration, this board will roll up to it. And that's exactly what we're doing. Not only academically, but in every other thing that we'll own up to. But guess what? We will fix it.
We're committed, definitely. And our teachers and staff have released that I'm so appreciative of all that.
Does anybody have any more questions for Dr. Bezanis, the staff, or Dr. Bennett?
I have just one. I'm going to use what I want to know, has anyone at KISD recommended, or is anyone telling you to reduce the number of services for IEPs during new ARDs?
Reduce the number of services? No, ma'am. To my knowledge, no. Again, we are retooling our team to determine this. This came up in our training. The FIE, the full visual evaluation document, guides the entire part. What we've seen is that, and the search center didn't go with the same information, is this, Dr. Best, most of the students in Kingsville have the same amount of accommodations, just everywhere. So is it, the service center asks us, how individualized is this? So one of our very seasoned phenomenal guys asked that question to the service center. So you mean we're supposed to look at the evaluation to actually guide that decision? And the answer was yes. It is not an open array menu of let's push everything on there. It is to support the IEP that's being developed for the student that has that disability in a particular area. Does that answer your question?
Anything else? So you can go ahead and put that on because I was waiting, I didn't know why you go there. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Okay, anything else? All right, there being any further action, again, I adjourn this workshop at 7:45.